want to kick you off the course. You've got like 4,000 subscribers. Quite clearly, you can.
Hey, fuck faces, I'm back.
The modest sum of 4,000 subscribers he had amassed was more than enough to convince his academic advisors to keep him enrolled in a media course. And from there, Alex saw new potential for his discarded passion. Throwing himself back into YouTube, Alex vowed to revive his channel by uploading a new video every single day. But leaving FIFA in the dust, Alex looked towards a brand new opportunity on the horizon: commentary.
And I stumbled across the commentary community. Just a group of people who seem to be pretty real, who would just talk about YouTube in a way that most people never talked about YouTube before.
Alex's first major boost came from a video he made on the infamous battle between iDubbbz and Leafy, notably thanks to a retweet from Ian, which shot his channel up from a stagnant 4,000 to 10,000 subs literally in one night. Alex was able to make his first connections in the community pretty easily from there, thanks to his prominence in a few key Discord servers, mostly that of fellow commentators Elvis the Alien and Colossal is Crazy, the latter of whom actually had his Discord created by Alex. Colossal was, and still is, a very renowned member of the community, but he's also a very old man who didn't know how to set up a server. So by offering to run his server for him, Alex was in a position to promote himself and his work to Colossal's fans, putting himself in front of other big names too. With some further networking, Alex wound up on the radar of Pyrocynical, who offered to feature the young commentator on his massive channel, a collab which Alex says pushed him well over the 40k sub mark in just 1 week. He saw this number rapidly climbing over the next few months, eventually earning that coveted silver play button and moving into a content house with several other large creators he had always looked up to. In just 6 months, Alex went from his channel being on life support to moving in with some of the same people who inspired him from the very beginning. He was now officially doing YouTube full-time, being supported by a web of influencers to make his dreams become reality. As he says at the end of one video, this was the beginning of a new chapter. But what kind of implications did that new chapter entail?
And not to be a cringy YouTube vlogger, but it's a new chapter to do new things. God knows what's going to happen.
Alex seemed to hit his stride by criticizing other creators, making fun of various viral videos, and reacting to trash reality shows. If I were to kind of give Alex any sort of credit at all in this video, it's that he's proven himself to be very trend savvy over the years. He would pay close attention to what was being talked about in the community, like whatever drama Logan Paul or Belle Delphine were getting up to, and managed to pump out a 10-minute video on the subject in a matter of days. Employing such a hyperactive approach to his content farm of a channel may have occasionally gotten him into some trouble, but Alex's frequent upload schedule also gave way to an impressive rise rather quickly. Supplementing creativity for derivativeness at times, Alex was constantly relying on a revolving door of more famous friends to triumphantly carry him over the 2 million subscriber mark in May of 2020, before of course falling back under that threshold in June of 2024. Even before any of Alex's abusive behavior came to light, he was long considered quite the polarizing figure and grew to be hated by many fellow content creators following his dramatic burst onto the scene. But how? How did someone with such an awkward demeanor and inoffensive milquetoast videos become so intensely despised by his contemporaries? Well, it all started in 2017 with an up-and-coming creator by the name of Zaptai.
Hey everyone, I'm Zaptai, and I'm going to be filling in for Pyro today. Don't really see a point in giving any further ado, so let's just get right into it.
This story has been breathlessly discussed and debated within the commentary community for years now. And because I wasn't a part of that community at the time it all took place, I realize I may not be the best person to tell it, which is why I've linked several videos down below that cover the Zaptai saga much more extensively than we'll be doing here. I do think it's an important footnote in the I'm Alex lore though, as it was the first of several main events that caused some to think twice about his judgment and intentions. Zaptai, or Ed, was a Canadian commentator coming into his own at the same time as Alex. In fact, by Alex's own admission, the two were best friends throughout much of 2016. Much like Alex, Ed once found himself being featured on Pyrocynical's massive channel, receiving wide publicity and seeing a similar boost in subscribers. His content style could be described as heavily inspired by those who came before him, Colossal is Crazy, and I Hate Everything, especially the latter, as movie reviews were kind of Ed's bread and butter. He became a host of the Hot Wet Soup podcast, which he ran with Elvis the Alien and Bionic Pig for a little while. He received a shout out from Leafy is Here and was even on track to collab with IHG sometime in 2017. Dropping out of law school to pursue YouTube full-time, Zaptai was considered a rising star in the small pocket of the internet that he occupied, but such potential wouldn't last long.
Hey guys, welcome to, I guess, I don't even know what to call this.
I guess
it's
you would
not
just
really
call it the last episode.
It's not really an episode. It's probably none of us wanted to make this.
February 2nd, 2017, Hot Wet Soup released a now infamous episode titled The End. Though regular hosts Bionic Pig and Elvis the Alien made their usual appearances, Zaptai was nowhere to be found. In his place sat Ed's self-described best friend, I'm Alex. Several allegations were thrown Ed's way throughout the hour-long runtime, but the claim that ended up being the most discussed was that Ed had hurt a lot of people and had done so because he was a diagnosed sociopath who could not feel quote-unquote human emotion.
Ed told me about 4 or 5 days ago now that he was a diagnosed sociopath. That's what Ed told me. Now, obviously, if you don't know what a sociopath is, the basics are he just can't feel human emotion.
Alex says Ed confessed his sociopathy to him in private, but this was later contested by Ed himself, who went on to clarify in a twit longer that he told Alex he had been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, and that turned into Ed's a sociopath. It's been speculated in years since that Alex may have possibly Googled the condition, figured it was basically the same thing as being a sociopath, and ran ahead with the outdated labeling in front of hundreds of thousands of people on Hot Wet Soup.
Somewhere along the line, the term sociopath was brought into the mix, likely by someone doing a quick Google search of the term ASPD.
And I Googled it, and I went, well, how do I help you if you're a sociopath? And he said it's not curable.
Without bothering to educate himself on the nuances of antisocial personality disorder, or even waiting to see proof of an official diagnosis from Ed, who by Alex's own admission was also a pathological liar.
I know, I can't prove he's a pathological liar, but I know he's a pathological liar from my experience with Ed, because when he told me he was a sociopath, when Ed told me he was a sociopath, he said, just so you know, you are the first person I've told, you can't tell anyone. Obviously he didn't want anybody to know he was a sociopath. Clever of him, I wouldn't too. He says, I told you first. He then goes, no I didn't, I'm a pathological liar also. I told you first. And the reason why he did that, because he's a sociopath, he did think it through, is so he believes we've still got trust.
Alex blasted his former best friend as a dangerous sociopath based on a flimsy testimony from Ed, who everyone agreed was not a reliable narrator. Now, I'm personally not sure why this diagnosis needed to be made public in the first place. It seems to me that this was a claim Ed made to his friend in private, not expecting to have it broadcasted everywhere online. Then again, Alex was only 17 at the time, and it seemed more willing to act first, ask questions later, which would end up backfiring in the end when it was revealed Ed had in fact lied about his antisocial personality disorder diagnosis. This forced Alex and the others into an uncomfortable position. They had been deceived, but because they were willing to take Ed's word at face value, they ended up amplifying false claims that their close friend was a sociopath. This resulted in the episode being removed from the channel, and Bionic Pig and Elvis the Alien both expressing regret at running ahead with the information and airing it out in the first place.
I'm still like kind of regretful of making the end, you know, like.
Oh yeah, the whole situation was handled terribly.
Yeah.
Should not have done.
I'm
what we did,
50-50 on that. Like I know that No. Actually, I'm 100% against the end because mainly
I hated it. I hated it.
mainly because it was all about his sociopathy that he doesn't have. You know, like we went on this huge thing against. We made this video entirely based on what we just assumed he had. You know, based on what he told us. I mean, we had no way of really knowing.
Let's be honest. If anybody else was in our position, they probably would have done the same thing because everything lined up, and we just, I don't know why we didn't just stop and think about it. But I mean, there were people pushing us, to be fair. But
for sure.
Yeah, like we were kind of a little bit pushed to do it.
They admit this was a rushed, chaotic way to distance themselves from Ed, and even claimed, without naming names, that they were pressured into doing this episode by somebody else. This has left some to assume the party in question to be Alex, although Alex has also claimed that he was pressured and blackmailed into making a statement too. We still don't know exactly who could have forced him or the others to say something.
Then somebody called me up and basically said, I know Ed is this, I know Ed's done this, I know you know. So I'm like put in a situation where I'm like, are you forcing me to say something? Yeah. And he was like, yes.
But this wasn't the only claim made during the podcast. Alex also alleged that Ed was cheating on his partner with 4 other girls over the internet, with at least one being 16 or 17 years old. Although they kind of gloss over this part to focus more on the sociopathy stuff, you'd kind of think a pedophilia accusation would be the main focus of the podcast. Maybe their information was limited, I'm not really sure, but I do know that one girl did come forward a few days later. Her name was Heather, who stated that she was 16 at the time Ed, 20, manipulated her into sharing lewd images. This is where it all starts to get a little murky, as Heather later admitted to lying about her age to Ed, telling YouTuber Nicholas Diorio in an interview years later that she may have told Ed she was 17. Turns out neither of those ages were accurate though, as word began to spread that Heather was actually 13 years old. She then told Diorio in 2019 that she was 14, turning 15 at the time she and Ed were sexting. She maintains that Ed did not know how young she really was, that no one did, and upon finding this out, Ed wrote that he spent the entire night vomiting. While I would personally say an age gap of 16 and 20 is still inappropriate, most of the community agreed that the handling of the situation couldn't have been more irresponsible, with a lot of the blame falling onto Alex for muddying the water with conflicting statements. Although he said in the original The End podcast episode that Ed was cheating with underage girls, he later told YouTuber Tommy C in this clip that he didn't know about the underage girls until after the podcast came out, which is a bit of a red flag, considering the podcast was generally seen as Alex and the others trying to help their friend. It was a weird tone for the podcast to have.
No, I didn't know they were talking to after the podcast. That was my problem.
Wait a minute. Doesn't he mention? Wait, look, V. Doesn't he mention in the podcast that he knows about these underage girls? I'm sorry, Alex.
Exactly what I was thinking. Alex, I'm sure you said in the podcast that you knew that he was speaking to underage girls.
I'm pretty sure we didn't know that or mention on the cast. What I knew is that he was cheating on 4 girls. That's what I said.
Since the beginning, pretty much, from the timelines we've crossed over with all the girls, some we can't name, she was being cheated on with 4 other girls who were 16 and 17 years old.
The inconsistencies and general sloppiness culminated in Alex's reputation being a little dinged, to say the least. After his second Twitlonger, where he announced he'd be getting therapy, Ed left the internet. Though he did attempt a short comeback at the end of 2018, he'd ultimately delete every trace of his content from YouTube, making one final ill-fated comeback in 2021 under a different alias before disappearing again. For the most part, Ed banished himself from the community, and everyone pretty much moved on. It was an ugly, tangled mess of a situation, and quite frankly, I hated researching it. It reminded me that we should all probably go outside and connect with the real world a little more, because this was a lot to digest. My eyes now hurt.
If I hear another creator say, go touch grass, like, what if you live in a city? There's not a lot of grass in the city. You know, I walk, I get 10,000 fucking steps a day. Ask me whenever fucking people are like, touch grass, it's projection. Why don't you touch grass? Fucking taking videos all fucking day. Fun.
Heard from reading so many twit loggers. Maybe most relevant to our story, though, was that Alex was able to use this situation to say he cared about victims. It was a chance for Alex to curate a pure, well-meaning persona that we could all trust and support. He was making himself out to be someone with the moral clarity to do the right thing, someone actually looking out for others who had been wronged. In hindsight, we now know that this persona was always complete bullshit. In reality, Alex's mismanagement showed how willing he was to crudely insert himself in situations that didn't otherwise concern him, rushing to make something public without the proper due diligence, hurting himself and others in the process. And it wouldn't be the last time he'd do it.
We got the big boy set up now.
Hailing from down under and rapidly climbing the ranks of the YouTube commentary scene, Slazo, or Michael, was once on track to becoming one of the fastest growing commentators on the platform, garnering 600,000 subscribers in about 1 year. Michael was known for covering a wide array of topics and was adored for his Reddit series in particular, where he'd spin a wheel of various subreddits and make fun of whichever one it landed on. I actually remember watching some of these videos in 2017. Truthfully, he's one of the reasons I wanted to get into commentary myself. Slazo was funny. He came across as a genuinely sweet guy, and it seemed to be enjoying making content. Over time, he had made some friends in the community, including I'm Alex, who he not only collaborated with, but even ended up briefly living with at the start of 2019. At that time, Michael was on pretty good terms with mostly everyone, and was steadily building a brand with little to no controversy, which is why the allegations of that summer came as such a massive shock.
Woo! A commentator is under fire. We're talking about a YouTube commentator known as Slazo with 800,000 subscribers. Well, to be clear, he had 800,000 on June 7th, and now he doesn't.
On June 10th, 2019, at FizzyPop on Twitter, or Che, published a twitlonger in which she accused her ex-partner Slazo of a litany of disgusting, manipulative, and predatory acts when they were dating in 2016. Che, who was 14 to 15 at the time, alleged Michael, who would have been 16 to 17, had sexually assaulted her on numerous occasions, legitimizing her claims with a cachet of screenshots that showed some pretty shocking and heinous messages from Michael, where he seemed to allude to her in an extremely callous and inappropriate way. The events Che described were horrific, so it made sense when the vast majority of the community threw their immediate support behind her. After all, it's worth taking claims like these seriously, and it genuinely seemed to many like Che had been taken advantage of by a sex-hungry monster. Michael began losing subs, and a number of his former friends made a concerted effort to distance themselves from the man who then seemed pretty guilty. When Keemstar reached out for comment, Michael had a brief and vague message to relay to the public. He immediately wanted people to know that there was a lot more to this, and that there were things in her statement that were flat out false, indicating he was working on a longer response that would take some time to put together. Michael also alluded to being taken aback by Che's claims. He tells Keemstar that he and Che had resolved this matter a few times in private. Che then released a response to this short statement from Michael, in which he says he did not deny the alleged behavior to her when they spoke on Instagram, providing several screenshots of DMs to back this up. But as some pointed out at the time, a closer examination of these DMs revealed something else. Che claimed in her original statement that she heard Michael had been acting strange and making people uncomfortable, and that's one of the reasons she went public to begin with. Here, we can see Michael repeatedly asking where she heard this, and she doesn't say. Che asserts, "I'd heard from people people, you'd been weird to others, to which Michael responds, who? The only person I've really talked to is that Unicorn Powers girl, another online personality. In a separate screenshot, he can be seen asking, what things did you hear I'd done to make you concerned? I've really barely even gone for anyone this whole time. You've been asking me if I'm talking to any girls almost every time we've spoken, and I've said no 90% of the time, indicating to Che here that there was a limited number of people that he had been romantically involved with. While it's not unusual or wrong to withhold another victim's identity from the public, after all, it is their story, they should be the ones to tell it, there was a certain evasiveness to Che's answers that rubbed some spectators the wrong way. The first of many red flags that this story would soon entail. 17 days passed between the release of Che's Twitlogger and Michael's official response on the Slazo channel, and it's safe to say the pressure had sufficiently mounted within those fateful 2.5 weeks of relative silence. The community had waited for what felt like an eternity to hear Michael's side of events, and all eyes were now squarely on him. If he were truly innocent, this was his shot to prove it. He had arguably one chance to make his case to the world, but sure enough, it was extremely well received. Michael was able to vindicate himself of the worst allegations made by Che by providing additional evidence to counter what she had claimed. Michael proved that Che had been knowingly cropping images in an effort to hide details and make him look worse. For example, one of the pivotal moments that made Michael out to be a sexual abuser happened at the cinema. And although we don't know what actually went down because it was just between the two of them, Michael was able to provide screenshots that Che had not disclosed that painted the situation in a much different light.
Next, she goes on to describe our first date, where she says, Michael, on our first date, touched me in a cinema, despite me never kissing someone before. I assumed this was normal, although I was uncomfortable by it and let it happen. And now this confused me when I read it at first because it's not really how it happened. It's true that we did meet on our first date and we did go to the cinema. That much is true. It was very awkward. We'd only talked online before that. Neither of us really knew what we were doing too well. We went into the cinema, we had our first kiss, our teeth hit each other's, neither of us knew what we were doing. I was willing to call it quits there when she pulls my hand down and says to touch her, which is a pretty long way from how she portrays it in her version of the story. In fact, she was actually the one who brought up the entire idea of doing anything in the cinema. I had no reason to believe she wasn't as in on this as I was, so I'm not sure why she made it look like this.
Michael also rejected Che's claim that he had removed her bra and took advantage of her while she was crying, stating he would never do such a thing, and even provided this screenshot of Che implying earlier that her bra coming off was a mistake.
In this next bit of her statement, Che says that I got touchy-feely in a park and I was making unwanted advances while she was crying and asking me to stop, and that I moved her hands to touch myself. But this isn't how it happened. What did happen was this was a very awkward but mutual situation where she describes I moved her hands to touch me. She did that of her own volition, and she even mentions this in Discord messages from after we met up in person. Yeah, I'm not sure why she would lie about that. And the way she talks about what happened at that park is very different from how she says it publicly. She is very much on board with it, with the messages from the time where it actually happened. And the way she talks about it then is very different from the way she talks about it in hindsight. I had absolutely no reason to suspect that she didn't want what was happening or that she wasn't on board with it. She even mentions doing other things, and I had no reason to not think that she wasn't as keen as I was. She also mentions me taking off her bra while she's crying. Firstly, I would never do this. If I ever suspected that she didn't want any advance I was making, I would stop. The way she talks about it in the messages from the time gives the impression that I wasn't even intentionally trying to take off her bra, which I wasn't.
He also gave evidence of Che lying about more trivial aspects too. She said in her Twitlogger, for example, that Michael had been her first romantic partner, while these screenshots showed a different story. Apparently, she had told Michael that she had been with at least 2 other people before him.
She also mentions later in the post that she's never been in a relationship before. This isn't the impression that I was under. I was under the impression from these screenshots here that she's had at least 2 boyfriends and 1 girlfriend before we ever met. So I'm not sure why she would say this. She states that she had intentions to wait until 16 before doing anything. I never got this impression. She never said this to me. She never implied it. In fact, very early on in a Skype call, she said to me, nobody needs to know when I asked her if she wanted to wait to do anything. So I'm not sure why she said that and why she thinks that.
For the sake of time, I won't meticulously go through and show you everything Michael revealed, but I have included his original video down below in case you'd like to see for yourself and come to your own conclusion. The general consensus across the internet, though, was that Michael had managed to illustrate a much more nuanced series of events than Che had depicted. This led to people shifting their support away from Che, who they now believe to have manipulated facts and omitted relevant context. However, this didn't mean Michael was a perfect person or boyfriend either, as he admitted in a later interview that he suggested Che change her antidepressants to increase her libido.
I suggested at one point that she go off her antidepressant medication. Well, I suggested she go to another one, but at other points I insinuated that it might be a bad thing that she was on these antidepressants.
Why?
Her sex drive, like she said.
So your intention was to amplify it or to decrease it? To amplify it.
Yeah.
All right, that's a point against you, I would say.
Okay, we're going on. We're on here. Let's do this! Where you going, dipshit? We gotta win this fucking shit. Alrighty. Let's go. Oh, really? Yeah? Oh. Sticky. Go. Our guy. Stomp on him. We got yours. Oh, damn it. Well, I hope someone gets it. Mamma mia. Get naded, get naded. This is our shit. God damn it! Did we get it? Did we get it? Did we get it? Spot 2? Nice. Not bad team. Let's go. Got this sort of. When I play these big linear map games, look at this fucking crazy house. It's pretty much you never know until the goddamn very end. This match, but really quick. Shit. Alright, well, I'm out of alcohol. I'm drinking these White Claw Surges. They got 8% alcohol per volume. Just drank 3 of them. It wasn't enough, man. I still have feelings. I don't want any more feelings. Thank you. Shove up my ass. Thank you for the 100 biddies. Hey, lick my buddy Cheekies. Thank you for the $15 donation. Lick my asshole is the super chat. Thank you. I will. Lick that asshole. Thanks for the 15. Very, very gracious. Very good, very gracious. I got this. This is the last. No, this isn't the last one. It's not half fucking way, man. We got a fucking. God damn. I got a couple cats, and it really makes me mad that they can't get on this game with me to help me. But they don't have thumbs. And they can't, they just can't play. Dude, we're fucking shit. We're fucked. We started so well, now we're about to like brutally. Oh, is this our time? Overtime? Dude, they're kicking the fucking piss out of us, and I hate it. I'm not into it. Alright, overtime. Let's do this. This is our time. Can I find this fucking point? God fucking damn it. Please, come on. Is it ours? Do we get it? No. No. Dude, that was awful. Am I like on the fucking bottom? Which I am, because fucking dog shit at every game on the planet. I'm in the middle. Of course. I'm what you would call your average XDefiant player. Like in the literal sense. Camera. Yeah. Can't get over here? Oh, jeez, that's stupid. Oh, I guess it's fine. It doesn't have an overlook over anything. Except for way outside the map. No. I say no. Excuse me, y'all. What the hell is my team doing? They ain't doing shit. I'm trying to get. Just give him the point. Just give it to him. No, I'm just gonna take my fucking time. Except for sheets and fluid. Well, we're all getting killed. Time extended. Dude, we're getting our shit kicked in. Those eyes, that's cool. Get 4 kill, please. Just one? Dog shit. I should have killed the entire squad. All I have to do is take this fucking Jover. Yeah, oh, they're already on it, dude. What's my team doing? Give me that shit. Sorry, it's over. It's already Jover. It's super Jover. Here we go. About to lose in about 2 seconds. Thank you. It's over. Thank you, team. That was great. At least I halfway contribute. That was so cool. Fucking. Here you go, Echelon. Good job there. Good job, losers. Good job, losers.
Yeah.
That is an absolutely shitty thing to do. He never tried to defend it, and it's also worth noting that they were both extremely young when these events took place. They were both in high school. While I don't think that absolves Michael of accountability, it is a factor in analyzing behavior in hindsight, I think.
I wasn't a good boyfriend, and it ended up being pretty damaging. Again, I'm sorry for that. This was my first real relationship, and I was a massive, inconsiderate, emotionally unavailable dick. I didn't think about things that I said to Che a lot of the time and how they made her feel, and I'm really sorry about that. I acknowledge it, and I've tried my best to make up for it.
Being a shitty, distant boyfriend, which she had owned up to, is a lot different than being a rapist or predator, yet these labels were still unjustly thrust upon Michael during the month of June 2019. And although this wasn't helped by the barrage of influencers who rushed to support Che before hearing Michael's story, that's not exactly something I can blame them for. These claims looked really bad when they first came out, and I don't think it's unjust to immediately want to support the person making them. Many people just wanted to be there and provide comfort for someone who they believed had been wronged. A lot of them soon ended up apologizing and retracting their original support, but not everyone.
I want to make a statement because of the fact that obviously I came out and supported Che when she posted her twit longer, and obviously now Michael's video has come out where he's debunked some of the things that were put in there. First of all, I already knew that some of the screenshots that were used in Che's twit longer were jokes. I was very much aware of that, but I never had an issue with that, and I want to make that clear. Stupid jokes are stupid jokes. I don't think that's the problem. My problem with Michael was him admitting to doing things that he knew Che may not have wanted to do and being incredibly forceful and almost demanding. I don't believe he's innocent. I don't think he's innocent at all. Che may not also be innocent and may have hid stuff and used jokes to try and maybe push a certain agenda, but at the same time the stuff that Michael admitted to is stuff that makes me not want to be friends with somebody who is capable of doing those things.
Alex not wanting to associate with Michael is his own choice at the end of the day, but I and many others were genuinely puzzled when hearing his reasoning. Alex says Michael admitted to manipulating Che in his response video, but if you watch it, he simply doesn't do that. Again, Michael's video is linked below in case you'd like to see for yourself, because unless I'm completely missing something, I have no idea where Alex is getting this, unless he just didn't watch the video, which is what many people had assumed.
The stuff that Michael admitted to is stuff that makes me not want to be friends with somebody who is capable of doing those things, even the things he admitted to.
Based on this response, I genuinely don't believe Alex even watched Slazo's video. He was still painting Slazo as some sort of predator, but if you watch the video, the worst thing Slazo admitted to was probably just not being emotionally present during the relationship, and as an awkward teenage couple, it's pretty understandable.
Apart from implying he had some sort of secret information on Michael because he knew him personally, which is an incredibly irresponsible thing to say publicly in and of itself, it turns out Alex was going around telling people in private that Michael was some sort of monster, and that even if he didn't get exposed now, his fall was coming. But after 5 years, we still have yet to see anyone else come forward. Though Alex did allege to a few people in private, including Nicholas Fiorio, that Michael had apparently been completely sober at a club once and tried to take advantage of a girl who was blackout drunk. When Fiorio confronted Michael with this claim, he had this to say.
Alex claims that you had been rough and forceful with a girl while staying with him. He claims you were completely sober and forcefully getting this woman drunk. Allegedly, Alex had to step in and remove the girl from the situation as you begun kissing and sent her home in an Uber. Alex also claimed he told you, "We don't do that shit around here, man," and bullied you for the next few days.
Yeah, this was really confusing to hear, honestly. This is a complete embellishment of what happened. Alex, memeless, like that whole...
Yeah, okay. How's my noise gate? Holding up. Hear me, okay? Hey, fucking turd liquor, fucking deluxe. Thanks for the 2 trillion billion biddies. Much appreciated. Shout out to your family. This noise is working pretty good. I should get the mic a little closer just so you know, just to make sure you can hear me perfectly. Thank you. Should I just turn off the YouTube and turn on the dialogue here? No, it's like... Is it going? Fuck that. It's dead silences. And... I really wish they... I wish they didn't go over the top with the narration. Because, goddammit. Like, some of them I can't even, like, take. Yeah, like, you can tell right now I have voices completely turned off. Even though it is nice to be able to hear team say stuff. Oh my god, are we about to win? The hiccups, goddammit. Uh-oh. All right. I showed up. I did it.
Group and some people I only met that night, including this girl who I won't name. We're going to a club, and as you do when you're at a club, you got wasted. I was drunk as well. I don't know why Alex thought I wasn't drunk. We had certain points even drunk from the same jug of Long Island iced tea. So like I don't know how he got that impression, but I was pretty drunk as well. Like, he was tweeting about how I apparently accidentally put my nose in his eye, which is a tweet he's since deleted, so I wasn't sober. Anyway, this girl and I, at one point, we're both next to each other, both pretty fucking drunk, and we make out. Yeah, at some points, you know, the people I'm with are posing for pictures in front of us, you know. Mimulus tweeted is slazzo at one point. It wasn't nearly the way Alex describes it, I suppose. Like, she was giving me hickeys and shit. Like, there are pictures they took pictures of the hickeys on my neck, took the piss out of me for it.
So they were making fun of you about getting hickeys, about hooking up with the girl. They weren't at any point bullying you, saying you were being too forceful with her.
No, not at all.
Apparently, if something untoward was going on that night, no one seemed to have a problem with it as it was happening, including Alex. It seemed more like Alex had just completely embellished or made up something that had happened after the fact, once again trying to paint Michael in a light that didn't seem to withstand proper scrutiny. Trust me, there is a lot more minutiae we could dig into here, but because Slazzo isn't our main focus today, I've linked several videos down below that do go more in depth on the whole saga. In a nutshell, the consensus at the time was that Che was no longer a credible source after Michael provided sufficient evidence of her twisting conversations and lying about key details that didn't make sense to lie about. These revelations gave Michael the perfect opportunity to create a response that appeared to genuinely fill in those gaps, where he both defended himself against the worst reinforced lies and took accountability in other areas, despite Alex and a few others holding out for the longest time, only to apologize in the end after Alex had spread further lies, might I add. This apology, many considered too little too late, was barely even an apology, since Alex never once uttered the words, "I'm sorry."
Never actually says the words, "I'm sorry." And this made a lot of people upset. Seems like he just hates Slazo. Weak apology overall, though. Not a great apology. Very bad apology. See, the thing about apologizing is you have to mean it. You gotta actually mean it. You can't just say things diplomatically. You have to mean it for people to want to accept it as actual truth.
But Michael had largely exonerated himself as far as the vast majority of viewers were concerned. He started gaining subs again and tried getting back into commentary, but sadly, his heart just wasn't in it anymore. As he said in a subsequent video, the controversy of June 2019 kind of took the wind out of his sails a little bit.
I saw this one comment on it that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's talking about like, oh, I'm Alex completely ruined Slazo's life. And I read that and I was like, nah, like, if I go out, I want people to know it's because I chose to, not because someone else ruined me. So that's mainly why I'm here today. I'm sure you can imagine all, the thing you love about YouTube kind of turning on you and the community, thinking that you did this horrible thing that you did. It kind of takes the wind out of the sails, not gonna lie. So I didn't really want to make videos anymore.
Michael didn't disappear from the internet entirely, though. Instead, he directed his attention toward a second channel by the name of MK, which ended up exploding in popularity that same summer. As of today, it sits at over 3 million subscribers and 2.6 billion views. Michael didn't exactly lose in the end, but it wasn't for a lack of trying on Alex's part. The Slazo debacle would serve as a defining hallmark of the I'm Alex lore and would greatly damage his reputation to many of those who had been paying especially close attention. The Baited podcast held a reunion episode for the first time in a year, where hosts Keemstar, Tommy C, and Colossal is Crazy set their differences aside and took turns expressing their shared disdain for Alex, even if this devolved into a shouting match about paychecks.
That you weren't including the 3%. The extra 3%. It's not this 3%, it's just an extra $5,000.
That 3% is an extra $5,000.
You were presenting it as an extra $5,000 a year, not an extra 3%.
I disagree. I was pouring all the fucking views into this thing, and you were trying to rob me, which is what you said, and apologize to this day.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to. I didn't do anything wrong, did I?
What? Despite heavy criticism and countless videos analyzing his role in painting Michael as something the evidence suggested he wasn't, Alex still went on to have a pretty prosperous next few years on YouTube. He would continue down a path of stardom accompanied by a tighter circle of friends, making regular appearances on their respective channels and launching a number of short-lived podcasts, with one of his more prominent ventures garnering a significant amount of controversy in its own right.
What was that whole beef about? Because there was they were saying you kicked him out and he wanted to be in, and I've had bits and bobs from each of you independently, but just set the record straight.
Debuting April 10th, 2020, the E-Boys podcast featured a roster of well-known British influencers: Will Inney, Memulus, James Marriott, and of course, I'm Alex, who claimed to be the one to come up with the idea a year prior. However, speculation quickly arose that fellow commentator iNabber had originally been slated as the 5th host, but was pushed out against his will. He would soon expand on this in an on-stream rant.
You've created a group channel without the 5th member. That's it. Imagine, it's just pretty simple. Imagine your group of friends went out without you. You would just be a bit sad, wouldn't you? I think the only deep thing I've said is I came up with the name, which I firmly believe I did. I didn't like the name, it was ironic, but I came up with it, seeing as I made that channel 2 months ago.
He revealed the name of the show was his idea in the first place, and that they had not told him it was going to happen. He also says this is not the first time he's been excluded by the group, and that it hurt, wondering aloud why it wasn't mentioned during a call they had a few hours prior.
There was another time where a group channel was being created and I wasn't told about it, so this is the second time, so I think this is another reason why it hurts. I probably shouldn't have said that, but if I knew about this, why would you not bring it up to me when we called 6 hours ago?
Though he later said in the Twitter thread that it was all just a big miscommunication, and that after speaking with the group, turns out he hadn't been snaked at all, which is all well and good as long as everyone is happy. But to some, this situation just reinforced the idea that Alex was a snake. I know Alex's reasoning for excluding iNabber didn't make a ton of sense to me at the time. Alex says Frazier wasn't involved because he had slept through through the first recording, but the show lasted a full year after that. Was he just sleeping through every single recording? Or were there other reasons you didn't include him? I don't know. Not a big deal now, since there's no chance in hell of the show ever coming back together, I guess. Over time, it looked like the group had begun to splinter. Alex wasn't collaborating with Will and E and James Marriott the way he used to. Part of that, I'm sure, had to have been chalked up to Marriott getting more into music, but it definitely appeared Alex had shifted friend groups a bit from 2022 to 2023. His two channels started to churn out more schlock than ever before, and that was really saying something. On his second channel, Alex developed a habit for using the same exact face for every thumbnail. Literally, I mean, it's all the same PNG of this face, which I think is what Shane Dawson used to do. If you were to click on any of these videos, you may notice that Alex had begun using a blatantly obvious blue filter to make his eyes pop more, but it was done so poorly it just looked ridiculous and clearly artificial. If such a thing were possible, Alex seemed to be putting even less effort into his videos. And trust me, this wasn't lost on some of his more ardent critics.
The filter is so strong, and he hasn't set it up properly, that his teeth are turning f***ing blue. All right, he's done it for the eyes, but it's his f***ing teeth now that are turning blue. Like he's just eaten a fucking urinal cake or something.
But by 2024, Alex's hemorrhaging channel and faltering reputation would suffer yet another severe blow, one that friends, enemies, and remaining fans alike would all deem near impossible to recover from. On the morning of June 15th, the American commentary community woke up to this post from Alice Hez, former girlfriend of I'm Alex. In a tweet that has now garnered almost 8 million impressions, Alice officially published the story she had once been too afraid to speak on. Unable to stand the miserable thoughts of another woman enduring what she had been through, Alice decided to alert the public of her ex-partner's criminal behavior. At the bottom of her tweet was a link to a Google Drive folder containing several screen recordings of private Discord calls, text messages, and a 25-minute audio file. This massive trove of evidence also contained a written statement spanning a jaw-dropping 82 pages, most of which feature even more screenshots of conversations tied together with further context and background information provided by Alice. We will be sifting through the contents of this document here as chronologically and as thoroughly as possible, but in the spirit of keeping the duration of this video somewhat under control, I'm afraid we won't be able to explore every last detail today, which is why I have linked the Drive folder down below and would highly encourage you examine everything yourself in full. It's a lot, but it's also very necessary for establishing a clear picture of what this relationship looked like as told by Alice. In her words, she was threatened by Alex not to come out with anything at all and to keep quiet, or else he'd conjure up his own conflicting story to discredit her. But Alice isn't threatened. She wants us to hear this story from the very beginning. So that's precisely where we'll start, the beginning. And as she clarifies in the top line of her document, there is going to be a trigger warning here for mention of SA, suicide, depression, and assault.
It wasn't acceptable behavior, like in any way, shape, or form. It was insane. I felt like I could do no wrong.
Alice and Alex became official in March 2023 after going out a few months and knowing each other for a few years before that. According to Alice, the beginning of the relationship went pretty much how you'd expect a normal relationship to go, devoting 100% of their time to each other. But that brief period of happiness would soon phase out as little disagreements here and there began to spiral out of control into huge issues, as Alice noted that many of their arguments took place at first over Discord, since the two of them weren't living together yet. Alice, working from home, was expected to always make herself available for her new boyfriend whenever he wanted to call. She accommodated Alex in this way by neglecting her work and even inviting him to join her friend groups. But that wasn't enough for Alex, who had a tendency to escalate small arguments into much larger, vicious confrontations, which you'll soon see resembled full-on abuse. First verbal, then physical. The plethora of messages Alice includes here in this document really speak for themselves. It doesn't take long to notice a pattern of controlling and degrading language from Alex. Right from the start, he's already insulting Alice's intelligence, attacking the way she presents herself over text with, "You say everything wrong on text because you're fucking stupid, so call me." She protests, but he doubles down. "You clearly are." When she's had enough, Alex hits her with, "Fuck you, you weird fucking idiot. Fuck you. Fuck you. She didn't call him, of course, because he was obviously insulting her, but that didn't register for Alex, who instead persists with fuck you, he repeats like a stubborn kid needing proper discipline, even though she's the one with the quote literacy of a child, according to him. It's pathetic on his part, but these fits weren't uncommon. In fact, unfortunately, they only got worse as the...
I need to go to the piercing shop, the tattoo shop in action. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, thanks for the 20 billion gifted subs, jackal ass. Old girl here. It's kind of cool. Piercing action going here. I want it. I want it. Big. It's too big. Small? I don't care. I'm literally no one's watching this. So if a YouTuber is upset with me, YouTubers say like Jay Aubrey, whose video this is, you're gonna get upset with me for watching this on stream because like no one's here to talk to. Like no one's watching it. Just in case, go watch Jay Aubrey's new video. It just came out not that long ago. Peace and love. Peace and love. Smoochies. Bunch of smoochies. Let's just get right into it.
Relationship progressed. There are times in these messages where Alice is clearly afraid to come over because she doesn't want to bother him during his work, you know, at his really hard and stressful job of reacting to TikToks.
That is fucking funny. And he's like, I mean, if he wasn't British, we'll get away with this, but he's British. I'd say no. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm British, but dude, look at this. Look at this. Gorgeous. I'm Alex. Horrid. This Anglo-American. Probably the most beautiful person you've seen all night. Just saying.
Hey, he sold it to me. I'd be giving him back his son pretty quickly. I'd be like, oh, he's angry. I can hear it. And the facial expression really shows it, like he's quite devastated by the whole thing.
Wow, that kept going forever, and not a single word of it was funny. But instead of hearing his girlfriend out and attempting to resolve the issue amicably as a team, which is what you would typically do in a relationship, Alex immediately springs into victim mode, acting as if she backed him into a corner for making him decide on something that had already been arranged, when in reality, Alice was only looking for reassurance. She wanted to come over, but also wanted to make sure she wasn't bothering him or didn't want to piss him off, in her own words. But instead of getting that reassurance, Alice was met with a defiant, stop fucking talking over me. You're unbearable to talk to. Shut up. I hate you genuinely. She was trying to see him, and he was berating her for it. In screenshot after screenshot, we see Alex flying off the handle, being entirely hysterical, calling his girlfriend an annoying cunt who he hates genuinely. He'd also refer to her as sick, unlovable, and a whore, alongside a barrage of other heinous insults that we will be documenting here as well. Alice explains that these bursts of anger were commonly followed up with flattering words, apologies, and excessive love bombing as a way to regain her trust before shattering it again and again. I'm sure you can imagine his behavior didn't exactly help Alice's depression. In fact, she claims her mental health was severely worsened by Alex and his repeated insistence that he didn't love or care for her. Lamenting, I found it hard to stay happy every day, dating someone who said these things so easily to me, feeling no remorse or guilt. He just flew past the days like nothing ever happened. This was immensely draining on my side, adding, I've been scared to talk about this because I'm afraid I won't be easily understood. Getting ahead of what people might say, Alice wrote, people will question why I even stayed, and believe me, I wish I could turn back time, but I believed his lies when he apologized to me, and I really tried to believe he would stop going so far if I asked him to. I thought I was good enough for him to stop calling me a whore or telling me to die or threatening to leave in every argument. Sadly, however, nothing seemed to stand in the way of Alex firing up his high-quality 4K digital camera he uses for YouTube to threaten and abuse his own partner over.
FYI, if you're watching this right now, if your eyes are on this.
For Discord. Included in the Google Drive folder were several examples of this that have spread across the internet like wildfire for reasons obvious to anyone who has seen them.
This is the thing. Even though now, when it's too fucking late, you admit that you did everything fucking wrong. But when it actually matters, when you should lay down
psychopath, dude.
like a good fucking dog, you don't fucking do it. You fight for some reason. I don't know why you fight, because you're losing. But you end up admitting you fucked it all up anyway.
With seething resentment in his voice, Alex hisses that he wants his girlfriend to lay down like a good fucking dog, fuming at the fact that she's apparently disobeyed him, and expresses confusion over why she bothers to fight back at all. It's like he doesn't even see her as a person. She's something beneath him. Definitely seems that way in this clip, where he acts as if his status as a professional YouTuber makes him superior to his girlfriend and apparently also all of his less famous friends.
What judging mental is, I think I may have said like 100 times to the point where it's actually really hard to follow what I'm saying because it's so flexible. I've gone, you could do this, but you might be able to do that, but you might be able to do that, and you might be able to do this, and this might work, but you might be able to do that, and it sounds fucking mental. I don't even understand how you can possibly actually follow along with it. Like most of my friends struggle to actually understand what I'm saying. But that's why I'm a professional and you're all not.
Please know that this is how Alex truly sees himself. A famous internet celebrity with a lot to lose. Meanwhile, his girlfriend's life has already gone down the drain, at least in his own words.
Because you might not have anything to fucking lose, because your life might be down the fucking drain, but I still have quite a lot of life to fucking give.
He sure does have a lot to give, doesn't he? The world is such a better place thanks to this man's generous contributions. I'm Alex, reacted to Love Island and 90 Day Fiancé. Where's his Nobel Peace Prize? In later messages, we see Alex telling his girlfriend that she should be grateful to find herself in the presence of someone with the expertise he has, chastising the stupid idiots around him who think they know better about building an internet career because he's the only man who has ever done it successfully, I guess. In fact, maybe they're not even worth talking to at all. They're too small-brained, right? Later, following up with "Kill yourself, please," and "You're a girlfriend, genuinely bad at it. Emotional level of a brick." And then he calls her the N-word a few pages down. He'd most certainly continue attacking her for not adhering to his streaming advice later on as well, where we get to him complaining that he just hates people, making it seem like what I'm doing is actually rude, like "kill yourself," which is an insane sequence of messages. Yeah, it's really hard to imagine how someone might find you rude. I just told you how to make 6 figures, so fuck off, it's annoying. If you needed any more evidence of Alex exposing himself as the inconsiderate maniac he is, look no further than this clip, where his apparent disdain for the person he's supposed to love and care for more than anyone else is so intense that he starts violently shaking before leaning into the mic and spitting out a blatant threat.
I'm gonna fucking bash your fucking head against the wall with a brick if you don't shut the fuck up.
There is no context in the world that could justify a statement like that. You don't hurl threats of violence at your partner, you slimy idiot. In no circumstances anything even adjacent to that justified. It's sickening that Alex was propped up on a moral high horse throughout his entire YouTube career, deliberately making himself out to be some soft, harmless e-boy that could do no wrong, while at the same time treating his own partner with such intense vitriol. And to do it in full view of your high-quality camera, too, is just another baffling decision on top of everything else. There is no exaggeration in saying he was literally caught in 4K.
Alex is a grown Gremlin.
Unfortunately, they continued dating for a little while longer, and the abuse wasn't contained to just Discord. In fact, the pair ended up taking a trip to Italy last summer, and when Alice found her partner watching a video of a girl opening up about her trauma, Alice made the mistake of thinking it was a safe space for her to confide in Alex about the sexual trauma she herself had been through. Instead of comforting his girlfriend and being there for her, Alex told her that he didn't want to hear about what has been done to her by other guys, prompting Alice to leave the room crying. But not even then did Alex stop to consider how he was hurting her. Instead, he threatened to end the vacation early by flying back on his own, knowing damn well that ditching Alice on her third trip abroad would leave her feeling sad, scared, and alone. I spoke about something I went through and the trauma, opening up to him about my experience in the essay, and this is how he responded, she says, providing this screenshot of Alex calling her fucking weird for bringing up weird shit on their first holiday and ruining every moment, before stating outright that he has had no fond memories with her. Which, if that's the case, Alex really hasn't tried to make any fond memories with Alice, like when he canceled plans on her birthday to go to a Star Wars event. No time for the woman he's dating on her birthday, but plenty of time for Jar Jar Binks. He also had plans to move around this time, but assumed that Alice would just be totally willing to move in with him, despite them not having any prior conversation about that at all. It apparently never occurred to Alex that maybe the person who he's verbally accosted and threatened on numerous occasions might be a little hesitant to move into a house with him. When she told him this and urged him to get a smaller house away from her, he shot back with, "I got more important shit than your feelings," though all she did was ask for an apology above that, especially when your feelings are based on absolute wank. "Is you insulting me, wank?" she asked, to which he responded, "Just accept that you were being a dumb woman. Instead of being a burden, be useful." Then in the next series of iMessage screenshots she includes, we see Alex mocking her for being scared to move, to which he immediately followed up with, "Just die in a fucking hole." Really hard to imagine why she'd be scared to move in with you, man. When you're keyboard smashing and throwing temper tantrums in between demanding she please bury herself in the garden, continuing this violent trend by later threatening, "I'm going to fucking kill you," after Alice stood up to him for insulting her. "I'm going to break your neck," he says immediately after, all because her tone was too down for his liking. On the topic of breaking up, Alex declared, "I will be fine without you. You are nothing without me." Such an insane assertion. It may actually be laughable if it weren't so grim. But Alice wasn't safe from Alex yet. In fact, things were only about to get even more dire. The two did move in together on October 15th, 2023. But 4 days later, things were already getting more real, as Alice put it. This was around the time she began taking more notes, writing her mom and making sure her parents knew exactly what was going on. October 19th is when they had their first physical fight, which started off as a screaming match at first, where Alice pleaded with her partner to leave her alone. She tried removing herself from the situation by going downstairs, but Alex wasn't about to let her get away so easily. That's when he grabbed the hood of her sweatshirt and pulled her all the way back until she fell on the floor, she says. When he told her she wasn't getting away, Alice got up and made a run for the bathroom. But before she could get in there, Alex had already gotten in front of her. He grabbed her and put her in a headlock, covering her mouth to muffle her screams. When she finally escaped, she locked herself in the bathroom and could hear him screaming from the other side of the door. Again, this is all after she asked him to leave her alone. This is when her parents were really urging her to get away. Rightfully concerned for their daughter's safety, her mother wrote, "If he's already pushed you over and put his hands over your mouth, he will punch you eventually. Do not let it get that far. Get out." These fights would leave Alice shaking and scared for her life, petrified every time he came close to her or was even in the same room as when they were arguing. She never knew what his next move was going to be, as he had his own sadistic way of keeping her under his thumb. In one instance, Alice couldn't find her glasses, and Alex actually joined her in looking for them. What Alice didn't know at the time was that Alex had broken her glasses himself and thrown them away without her knowing. Yet he still seemed to derive some sort of sick satisfaction from watching her aimlessly and hopelessly look around for them. When she suspected his guilt, he finally admitted to it and laughed it off, downplaying the whole ordeal like it was some kind of joke. Then there were other instances where he would pick up Alice's cat and either threaten to take it away from her or break its neck. In the screenshots, you can see her repeatedly referencing him saying weird things about the cat, and it got to the point where she no longer felt comfortable having her pet in the same room as Alex. But December 28th, she writes, was the day I decided to no longer put up up with his behavior. She recalls how Alex's parents were coming over that night and how she was forced to clean and prepare everything since he had done nothing at all. She says he kept asking if something was wrong, to which she kept telling him that everything was fine. He then started shouting, getting hysterical, thinking she was lying. I say very few words due to the fact that I am very mentally drained, she writes. I had nothing left in me when we had these arguments. I barely said anything, but Alex kept asking for something to do. So she finally asked if he could help her take out the trash and wipe down the kitchen counters. This was all too much for Alex, apparently, and he began screaming at her again. As he overreacts, she begins to walk out of the kitchen, and that's when he kicks her in the back. She turns around but says nothing. This was a breaking point for Alice. It was the second time he had physically hurt her, so she texted her friend to come pick her up. She did manage to record the aftermath on her way out, though. Here, you can tell she's packing her things, and you can hear Alex following her around the house as he continues to berate her.
Over what? I don't understand. Because nobody got anything to be stuck up over. But for some reason, something isn't good enough for you. You get to do whatever you want all day. It's like, and then you look like a fucking miserable fucking little cunt all the time. Like, your face is annoying to look at, like when I come downstairs. Like, I'm actually fed up of looking at you. You've always got to act like...
I am Alex. I am an asshole. Alright, let's go.
None of this stuff, because you don't actually try and fix any of your problems. Like, it's infuriating at this point. But you don't talk about it in your fucking little brain. I'm trying to fucking right now, so I'm spending
Come on, work with me, people.
3 hours every single day trying to figure out where fucking £75,000 has gone. And whether I'm ever going to get it. And then any of my future YouTube revenue. Because the company is holding my channel hostage. So yeah, sorry I forget about to fucking clean the side sometimes. I got bigger fish to fry. You just don't think about any of that.
Go away.
Fucking woman.
Go away. So are you.
Tried to stop this like 7 times
You could have stopped. It was you. It was all you.
I tried to stop
Go
it.
away.
I did try to stop
Go away.
it.
Go away. Just go away.
Like if you had to do half the shit I had to
Oh my
do,
god, am I actually gonna finish this challenge?
you upload one half-assed video every 3 weeks. It does terribly. Well, you can stop this right now.
Yeah, shut up. You're following me.
Just need this win. Need this dub. I can.
She left
take
him
this off
that
my
night,
list
thankfully,
or
but when
add
she
more
later
shit to
returned
my
to
list.
pick up her things,
Oh,
she
yeah,
discovered her 4K PC setup laid out on the floor. She realized immediately the keyboard was smashed to bits, and later found both monitors to be completely destroyed as well, including the camera. A horrifying and brutal reminder of what Alex was truly capable of. Fortunately, she never returned to live with Alex again, but that doesn't mean he was quite yet removing himself from her life either. During his exhaustive attempts to reestablish contact with Alice, Alex expressed...
I know this is a kind of out of pocket, out of left field, or right field, whatever field's not that normal. If Ethan Klein doesn't talk to Sam Cedar, or chooses not to, at least to get a different perspective, he's kind of like willfully gone. He doesn't want to understand. He is fully Israel pilled, and everyone needs to die. And and like whatever, dude. It's not an anti-Semitic thing. It's an Israeli nationalist thing, which is like it's like, come on, man. It's like I'm a filthy cracker. You consider me white, even though it's not really. And like I was raised Christian, so like I mean technically like I should be like all about white Christian nationalist, white Christian nationalism. Because I'm white and I was raised a Christian. Why not? Well, it sounds great. It's like no, but that's not the point. And Ethan doesn't get that because it's like it sucks. And like he's been great basically because like all nationalisms have to have like a narrative, like you know like some kind of story, which usually involves like bad guys, good guys, whether there's some it's almost heroic. You know, nationalism for dog shit. They're really under like the impression that like the solution to the Holocaust is the state of Israel. Like that hasn't proved correct. I mean, not only are the citizens of Israel in constant danger because of the nature of the settlement, Zionists, I don't use the term Zionists, Israeli nationalists, they're putting Jews everywhere. Whether or not they support Israel or not, it's like they're in a much unsafer situation because of this justification for genocide. I mean, it's just this whole thing is like really frustrating because like all those Israeli nationalists, including Ethan, like just slap labels on shit real hard, and like and that's the end of it. Like terms anti-Semite and terrorist seem to be like almost like magic words. Like once they're said, it's like argument. Nothing more to say. It's kind of like, dude, there is context. I'm not trying to say these are good people, but like there is reason behind their actions, and you should consider what your actions are contributing to the situation instead of just this like taking for granted, like, oh, these are scum. I mean, this is horrible that kids are dying, but we have to destroy Hamas. They're terrorists. It's kind of like, and the fact that like, especially now in a time where of such political turmoil in the United States, where like the right wing, like where fascism has a real I mean, fascism has always had a chance in the U.S. It's like the education system in the U.S. is so horrid, so useless, so like so just leaving you ill-equipped to like deal with reality, man, and any kind of non-surface level. And I mean, this is my opinion, but I think nationalism is straight up poison, social poison. It's one of the foundations of fascism, and it should be eliminated because it's based on a lie. I mean, what is a nation outside of, like, for the most part, like ethno-religions seem to be a huge part of like nationalism and ethnicity, and it's like insane. The fact that religion is connected to ethnicity, it's just so fucking stupid. Religion is stupid. It's fake. It's 100% fake. It's all dog shit. People are all the fucking same. We've just developed in different areas in the world and developed different cultures, but we're smart enough now to know, as a collective, as a species, whose ethnic and like so-called racial differences are essentially like meaningless in like the grand scheme of life on Earth. Like, we are all like we're practically the same as chimpanzees. I'm not trying to. I mean, even crackers. Everyone. I mean, genetically speaking, there is not a lot of difference in chimpanzees. We're very, very closely related. So, the idea that there is even a difference between ethnicities, or so-called races, is just so absurd on its face. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to know that some people consider that their brain is such dog shit and their brain is such limited. They're so ill-informed and willfully ignorant that they actually think that there's like any adult kind of non-superficial differences between peoples across the earth, that not all humans have the exact same capabilities. I mean, even and that they've all been developed under particular conditions. Like, God didn't determine our cute little personalities born in a magical pool in heaven where God decided, like, this is how your hair color and all that. Fuck all that noise, dude. It's dog shit. I don't think that our physical surroundings is like responsible for like everything. You got baby brain. It's religious people just make me so mad. It's just so on its face. It's just so fucking stupid. Oh, it's just so stupid. It's embarrassing that like you actually like the idea that there's like some invisible in the sky. It's like, dude, that idea alone, that idea of God like sitting somewhere in the heavens up there. God, it's invisible. It's so fucking stupid. It hurts so bad. It's so stupid. You know, it isn't warm. You have to do it. I'm sorry. It's like, prove it, asshole. Well, you don't have to prove it. This program ain't got to prove it. Scientists are proving shit all the fucking time. They're testing against their own theories. And, like, you just get a pass because, fuck off. Big dick. All religious people can fucking go meet their fucking maker, dude. Just get the fuck out of the way. So if you want to ruin the world for the sake of your fucking fake sky god, just go meet them. Get the fuck away from us. Let us go to hell or whatever. Because okay, fuck what you. Dog shit. Speaking of dog shit, there's dogs barking. Which I'm okay with. You know how we. How you doing? Hey, thanks for the 30 biddies. Shits on your own face. Oh, and thanks for the subscription. Thanks for the sub. Worthless fat shit. Shit. Oh, thanks for the 10 gifted. Pick my taint. Thank you. You're right on. Alright, what's going on here? That's a little weird. That's too big of a smile. Just gonna say it. Smile. Big. All smiles are suspect. Big ones. Thank you. You can really only trust a person who's frowning at you and tell you the truth. Hey, look at me. Face you can trust. Where you going? Where you going? Where you going? Going to Bullet Town. Take down to Bullet Town. Should have been innocent there. I have the most annoying plays ever. Oh, what the hell? Hey, spit it on Horsecocks. Thanks for the sub. You hear this cat over here? What a nutbag, right? Just meowing his head off. What you want, cat? You want some kitty treats, don't you? I know I do well. Whoa. That's fun. Can we hold this point, y'all? We're gonna do this. We're gonna win, or we're gonna lose. Like losers. Oh, shit. Awful. Where's... I stop saying lame. That is April AF. There's not enough drugs or alcohol in the world. I can make me feel better. Makes me feel okay, but I could always feel better, and it's not. It's always a little bit of meh, no matter how I feel. You stop him? Yo, am I done playing this game mode? Who's that? Shots. How'd I do him on the bottom? Close. You get the most phone captures, though. Yo. Someone give Hellhead a like. Should be able to give everyone a like. It'd be a bam, 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 bam. That'd be nice. Get that level going. Let's go.
Frustration that she couldn't just let it go, it being the time he kicked her in the back on her way out of the kitchen. It was the incident that marked the end of the relationship, after all, and it appears Alex had a hard time coping with that. Texting her, "So we end on a big argument? Fuck, I just want to scream." Following up with, "I can't believe we can't talk. Fuck. It's mental. I can't do this." Even when forced to recall the time he physically assaulted his own girlfriend, Alex can do nothing but think of himself. Underneath all the desperate pleas for a second chance and a shot at redemption, Alex's intentions are nothing but selfish. Just as Alice texted her mother a few months back in the midst of this abuse, it really seemed Alex only desired a little minion to want and need him. He had no interest in maintaining a healthy relationship with Alice. How could he? Throughout the relationship, Alex couldn't help himself but reduce Alice to a whore, cunt, freak, weirdo, bitch, or slag when he wasn't calling her outright slurs, blaming her for the horrific circumstances she was forced to face day in and day out. Alex has shown a blatant unwillingness to address his own actions when it didn't benefit himself. Sure, he'd say he was sorry and pretend he wanted to correct his behavior, but only when he was trying to get back with Alice. The second he realized his disingenuous tactics weren't working, he dropped the facade and went right back to berating her all over again. It was a corrosive cycle that transcended just text messages. When Alice blocked her abuser on iMessage, Alex switched over to Instagram and hounded her there. Then when he saw he was blocked from her main Instagram, he started messaging the account she set up for her cat. He would relentlessly reach out to Alice on burner accounts, as evident by this particularly ominous screenshot. Such an eerie series of messages to be paired with that profile picture. Despite insisting he didn't want to beg for Alice to come back, Alex...
I'm done with zone control. I'm taking that shit off. Watch this. Oof. I haven't had an Air and Space playlist, right? Honestly, I'm just going to pick it old school. Getting those matches like boom, boom, boom.
Alex was extremely forward in his intentions when he showered her with teddy bears and flowers shipped to her house, a hoodie doused heavily in his aftershave so she could remember the way he smelled, barely hiding his manipulative tendencies when he went out of his way to deliver a handwritten letter to her doorstep, regardless of her repeated attempts to create as much of a physical distance between them as possible. Alex violated this boundary just as he violated everything else, demonstrating even further disregard for the wishes of a woman he could no longer control and manipulate. He seethed at the idea that he had pushed Alice away, probably because he knew deep down that it was the truth. Who knew it would be difficult to smooth things over with an individual you threatened to kill on numerous occasions? At a certain point, Alice blasts back with an essay of her own, declaring outright, "I don't forgive you for abusing me, and I don't think I ever will. I don't want you to contact me somewhere else after this multiple times. I've blocked you on maybe 8 things now, and you need to take that as a very obvious sign that I don't want to be near you. Even just thinking about you or getting anywhere near you again or getting back with you scares the living shit out of me, and that's what you've done to me. You can make excuses, say it was my fault, that I made you do it, but we all know that's invalid. It's taken me so much courage to actually finally say this to you, but I don't know, maybe don't domestically abuse someone next time. I don't know what you expect from me. Don't try and beg. It's all fake. It's all out of fear because you're scared of everything I have on you. Moral of the story, you're an abuser, and I want you to please leave me alone so I can actually heal from this." Then later, when Alice informs him she has PTSD as a result of his abuse, Alex notably responds, "Yeah, I know my actions have affected you." What's significant here is that Alex is not attempting to deny the way he's treated his ex partner. When Alice thinks of him and her heart begins to pound out of her chest, Alex says he feels the same way, but for obviously different reasons, he concedes. This tells me that Alex is at least aware enough of what he has done, and that if he ever tries to come back and make a statement defending himself, he will be unable to lie and say these events didn't actually happen. Not that I think he could have successfully made that argument to begin with, of course. I mean, we've seen the footage, we've seen the messages, we've seen it all, packed into 82 pages worth of evidence and a detailed testimony. Toward the end of her document, it's important to note that Alice leaves another disclaimer. She makes sure to emphasize that she is not trying to make herself look like someone who has never said anything mean. I stooped down to his level and became reckless with my language to try and prove a point of this is how you treat me, so have it back. You can only take so much of someone belittling you and telling you they don't love you, that they hate you the whole time you're together. When you're meant to be in love, it tears you apart and changes you. I'm not afraid to own up to anything I've done because I only ever reacted after the abuse was drilled into me. While she denies his claim that she punched him in the face over the cat, Alice says that she did slap Alex at one point during an especially heated argument in September after he had been screaming derogatory names in her face. The way she puts it, I started crying and he looks at me with a straight face and sighs, calls me boring and laughs. I end up defending myself. I slapped him in the face. This was out of character for me, but he was screaming in my face. I was backed into a corner not knowing what to do. This happened, then I grab my things and leave the flat and call my friend to tell them everything that just happened. Alex spams me to come back and I end up giving in and going back because I'm scared. In the screenshots she provided, we see her telling Alex, yes.
I'm explaining to my cat right now why I shouldn't give them a treat at the moment. Because we are very close to being out. We're almost done. I would give you all the treats in the world if I could, but like, almost done. I want to have some for you in the morning before Petco opens, so you're not begging me all morning. But we're out to save some. So if you please just chill out. Maybe think about getting some. Oh, you're already gone. I appreciate you. Peace and love.
I slapped your face one time. Name a girl who hasn't slapped a huge asshole. Asking, that's your defense? My girlfriend slapped me because I abused her? Alice ends the document around there, claiming this is not all the evidence she has, withholding some of it on account of an ongoing police investigation, while also indicating that the rest could very well be made public in due time. Though on the off chance he ever does make an attempted comeback, Alex will also need to reckon with the mountains of additional claims made by 2 other women. In the wake of Alice's claims, Alex was subsequently hit with further allegations by fellow commentary YouTuber and another one of his ex-girlfriends, King Annie. Publishing a 2-page document of her own on June 17th, Annie reveals she dated Alex privately from June 2017 to March 2018, describing it as the most toxic relationship she had ever been in, and citing that she was thankful to get out when she did. The timing here is especially significant to me, seeing that the events she described took place almost 5 years before Alex began abusing Alice, underlying a terrifying pattern of behavior that spanned multiple years, and it also meant he was going after Onision for being an abuser while also being one himself. This is an actual screenshot from a video he dropped at the exact same time he was allegedly manipulating and threatening his own partner. And he testified that during the relationship, he made me feel insane, like I wasn't myself anymore. It never felt like he listened to me. I always felt belittled and inferior. Whenever we recorded videos together, he would constantly talk over me and never let me have my moment. Unsurprisingly, Alex's delusional sense of grandeur reared its ugly head here as well. As Annie claims, he would constantly complain about how hard YouTube was, as if it was the hardest job on the planet, and that no one had it harder than him. His classic line was, "I can't catch a break." I just want to remind you once again that Alex's videos at the time consisted of the Emoji Movie trailer and Strip Mario Kart. I don't even want to know what that one's about. Annie also went so far as to specifically cite the Slazo situation as an example of how Alex would manipulate those around him and twist the narrative however he pleased. She said he went out of his way to insert himself in even the tiniest drama, even when it had nothing to do with him. While she points out that Che never made any allegations of herself, she says Alex somehow came to that conclusion on his own and that everyone else got the blame for saying his words. Somehow, the situation went from Slazo being guilty of being being a bad boyfriend to him being a rapist. This was the final nail in the coffin, she says. I cut all contact with him after that. Annie also brings up another since deleted video from Alex's channel that I actually remember watching all the way back in 2018. It was titled Back to Nothing and featured him being more emotional than I had ever seen him before. While the exact reason he made this video was unclear at the time, Annie provides some further context that this was released in response to her breaking up with him. She says this video was a way for him to guilt his newly ex-partner into replying to him. She makes a comparison between his treatment of her and his treatment of Alice, that after he would scream and fly off the handle, he'd quickly snap back into apology mode, acting all sad and down so she would forgive him. It's part of the hazardous cycle that Annie and Alice knew all too well. She then goes on to recall one specific instance where the two were recording a video together. According to Annie, Alex was growing more and more frustrated that they had to keep restarting, pounding his fist on the table in a moment of outrage to the point that he even broke the microphone. Annie was understandably startled by this, so she got up and tried to leave the room. In that moment, though, she says Alex grabbed her arm to physically prevent her from leaving. I remember saying, "You grabbed my arm," several times in shock, as if to say, who the fuck would ever grab someone like that? Annie says this was the first and only time he actually laid a finger on her, but she describes herself as fortunate that she got out before things got even worse. Concluding her document with, "It saddens me that it's all come this far. I wished Alice the best privately, and it breaks my heart to have seen all the things she had gone through. I hope Alice's and my stories show you what he was really like behind the scenes. If you're in an abusive relationship, please get out now. You can't fix them." Directly underneath her tweet was a 2018 screenshot from one of Annie's friends, in which we can see her ranting about her partner's putrid living conditions in vivid detail. "The relationship was giving me depression," Annie wrote. "I couldn't handle it. I literally went to his room to check on something, and there was a smell in the bathroom. He hadn't flushed the toilet. It was brown. I wanted to puke and cry. There's so much I still have to clean." Adding, "Left my home with blood on the sheets from nosebleeds, toenails on the floor, and black mold festering in the toilet. It was fucking horrid." Now, I sure didn't need to know any of that, but because I had to read it, so do you. You're welcome. As stated a second ago, though, Alice and Annie aren't the only women to come forward. A third ex-girlfriend by the name of Jess posted a statement on June 18th where she described an on and off relationship with Alex from November 2018 to February 2020. In a notes app entry, Jess claims that the beginning of their time together went about as you would expect for a brand new relationship, which is pretty similar to what Alice said too. She also recalls a public statement she made in December 2020 for the sake of giving herself closure, clarifying she didn't expect it to go anywhere but just exist. Jess explained that she didn't feel she could reach out to anyone at the time since she had deleted all their messages and tried to get over the breakup, even stating that she had suppressed many of her memories with Alex from this time, though she was able to find one 2019 Facebook Messenger screenshot in which Alex is shown asking, "Yo, where's Jess? I'm very angry. At bar, I'm going to kick her head in. Now I'm locked out. Might kill her. Might actually kill her." The context of this had to do with Alex being out drinking with Slazo at Insomnia Gaming Festival. This was just a couple months before the relationship blew up. Apparently, Alex came back to their hotel and couldn't find Jess, convinced she was no longer in the room with him, despite Jess's assertion that she had been asleep in bed next to him the whole time and that Alex must have been too sloshed to even take notice. When we go back and look at the statement Jess made almost 4 years ago in 2020, we see that although she did not name Alex specifically, she says most can still probably assume who she's talking about regardless. She says that although things started off sweet, something changed not too far into the relationship, as she recalls Alex going clubbing with one of his exes, who he had also invited to his flat, an event that she only found out about through social media. When she tried to tell him how she felt about this, Alex immediately downplayed it. Anything I'd say was met with an excuse. "No, sorry, I'll text you next time," or anything. Eventually, Alex broke up with her, telling her the last 6 months were the worst of his life and that nothing good had happened, pushing Jess to the point of devastation and prompting her to cry herself to sleep because of how hurt she was. But it didn't end there. Attempting to move on from a guy she says she genuinely loved at the time, Jess made a tweet during the breakup where she talked about seeing a good-looking guy at the gym. Despite him already breaking up with her, Alex wasn't having this and flips out at her, labeling Jess a liar for saying she would wait for him, Alex insisted he never wanted to be with her again. This caused her to have a breakdown at work, crying on the phone with him and trying to apologize all over a single tweet where she called someone attractive when she wasn't even in a relationship. They ended up getting close again, but she soon found messages on his phone of Alex complimenting another girl's ass and talking to his ex more than he had let on. But somehow Jess had crossed a line with her tweet. She didn't feel she could bring any of this up to him on account of Alex being so consistently hard to talk to. When he didn't start arguing, he'd just say he was too busy or didn't have the time for whatever it was. Another worrying comparison to his treatment of Alice. He would always get angry at me for saying my feelings, she said. I was always there for him with advice and help, but he was never there for me. Just like Alice, Jess spent the majority of her birthday alone while Alex stayed in bed, his excuse being that he was depressed. While Jess writes that she isn't one to usually compare gifts, she couldn't help but feel a little slighted after taking Alex to a 5-star hotel for his 21st birthday. Meanwhile, he couldn't even be bothered to buy her anything more than Jaffa cakes, which he later told her was for the both of them. She says there were other times where Alex would just be pure evil, that he told her he hated her friends and that he would tell her he hated fat people, going on to jokingly call Jess fat, knowing she wasn't happy with her weight. He then broke up with her on Valentine's Day of 2020, shortly after she sent a text expressing how she didn't feel loved or appreciated anymore. Then COVID hit and Jess saw her mental health start to crumble. Once she attempted to call Alex while sitting in her car on the verge of suicide, to which he responded by turning off his phone and refused to answer it because he couldn't be bothered. She says she struggled to understand why he broke up with her and was desperately seeking closure and support at this time. She didn't understand why he got rid of her so easily and not his friends, who he kept talking to despite always insisting behind their backs that they were the ones who really got under his skin. She also says she wasn't allowed to go to her friends to vent about him either, since he didn't tell his mates, why should she? He would constantly use his depression as an excuse to get out of having the discussions that would have made Jess feel better, while never once taking her mental state into consideration, according to her. She says she had the chance to go to a different person about the situation, but Alex threatened her, saying if she went to said person, she'd have no chance of ever being with him again. So he's also weaponizing the possibility of getting back together, too. According to Jess, he knows how she feels about him, and he's perfectly fine with using that to his advantage. Luckily, she's been able to move past this with her new partner, but says that if Alex caught wind of her statement, he may accuse her of lying or shout at her like he always used to do. She would tell him he was mentally abusive, to which Alex would respond with, "Don't go throwing that around." Fast forward now to the present, and Jess ended her 2024 statement with the following passage. While I'm thankful I'm now in a position where my current partner has helped me heal through the damage Alex caused, my heart breaks for Alice, having gone through so much worse and still dealing with the consequences. Adding, she deserves nothing but peace and happiness from here on out. Nothing she has done will justify his actions towards her. It also didn't take long for the other creators Alex had once leeched off for content to publicly cut ties, with nearly all of his closest friends and collaborators, iNabber, Memulus, and Will and E, publishing their own respective statements to Instagram. For his part, George Memulus explained, Alex and I lived together between 2018 and 2022. He and Alice started dating in 2023. I've only seen him in person 2 or 3 times since moving out. Distancing himself even further, George stated he doesn't socialize much at all in the typical UK YouTube circles, especially not in the last couple of years. I only found out about the situation in general on April 2nd of this year when a fellow content creator brought it up to me in a call when I suggested a joint recording between us and him. He said he didn't know any specifics or what was even being alleged, just that it was bad. All I had heard prior to this was that they argued frequently. A couple of weeks later, Alice started posting TikToks alluding to the situation. It wasn't until just after that that I got a bit more clarity when I was out for dinner with another creator, and they brought up the fact that Alice had briefly published some text messages from him on TikTok before deleting them. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know how bad it was until I went over all the information when it was made public. I don't want to take attention away from the victim, but I think it's important I clarify my perspective and timeline of events. Please send your support to Alice. Will's statement echoed a similar sentiment, writing, firstly, I really hope Alice is doing well, and commend her massively for having the courage to get that out there. As Mia mentioned, there were rumors of his behavior earlier last year. Myself and a few others haven't haven't had contact with him since or been his friend for even longer. With that being said, the severity of the abuse that Alice published was far worse than anything I'd heard being discussed. That Google Drive is fucking abhorrent, and what he put her through is inexcusable. You'll notice Will refers to someone here named Mia, and that's his ex-girlfriend, a fellow British YouTuber who put out a statement just before Will did, writing that this was something she had been aware of since May of last year. It's something that, in her opinion, was well known throughout the industry, writing, "I can't speak for people who aren't in our group or who I don't see regularly, but the openness at which this was discussed among people last year, I genuinely find it hard to believe the creators close to Alex had no idea this was going on. When I found out, Alex and I were signed to the same talent agency. I immediately made them aware of the accusations and put pressure on them to drop him, which they did." This was June 2023. From the documents in the drive, it looks like things escalated even further from what I was aware of. Emotional abuse, threats of violence, use of racial slurs, which is so heartbreaking. I don't know Alice personally, but sending her so much love and support, she concluded. Then you have the myriad of statements put out by Fraser iNabber. The first reading should say, "Yeah, I know about the situation and hope you all send nothing but support to Alex. Genuinely some of the most horrific shit I've ever read. Cannot explain how brave it is to come out and speak about this stuff, especially considering how long it seemed to have been going on. Really trying not to come in here with the eyes and make it all about me as this is about Alice, and she deserves all the support possible. But yeah, I should just say, of course, I didn't know about this until recently. I wasn't even aware the two had fully broken up until April. That's how in the dark I was on this." He later provided a series of screenshots of the apparent timeline of him learning about the claims, which seemed to begin on April 16th. He explained, "Back when Alex was living with the people he lived with, I didn't really speak to him much." I think he means I didn't really speak to him much, but I could be wrong. "Dude kind of went MIA other than YouTube stuff, as he had a new set of friends, which was pretty normal. Only summer year, Alex started properly interacting with us in a server to play games. I've always been friends with him. Seen Alex about once since 2023. The dude never discussed personal stuff with us, solely just YouTube and games." Fraser showed that he thought they were still together as of March 2024, and it suspected they kept breaking up and trying to work on things and refollowing each other and unfollowing. But the man never wanted to discuss it with us, ever, emphasizing he had literally zero idea what was going on. A refusal to talk about it, but no indication of the true extent. They were still making videos together, as was him and his old friend group, until early 2024, so really had nothing to go off. Then in April, when he says he finally began to catch wind of something going on, Fraser had an hour-long call with Alex in which he was told about a toxic relationship. And from there to now, he claims he and others were trying to work out what the hell was going on. He says, "With this Alice situation, I personally was kept in the dark on it for such a long time. I think what makes me feel truly guilty is I genuinely thought those two were really happy together until me and my friends saw signs they kept falling out via unfollows and TikTok reposts." Fraser also acknowledged that even before this situation, Alex has been involved in a lot of stuff, but I've always been loyal to him as a friend, he admits, and tried to stick by him, even if he was perceived as a dickhead by a great many of people. Me and that man used to argue and fall out a lot, but last year when we started playing games together, I genuinely thought he was becoming a much better person and happier person, and I thought that was because he had finally settled down with someone, and that thought now makes me feel ill and an overwhelming amount of guilt. Me, my friendship group, Alex, and even Alice used to play games together quite a lot, and now looking back on what was going on genuinely fucking shocks me and makes me feel so ill. Sorry to make these stories about myself, but I just thought I'd explain a brief timeline of events for further understanding. Me and Alex had a very toxic friendship, he continues. I would prefer to keep that private for the most part, but with all these clips, recordings, messages, and the documents, I read them for the first time this week too, and that makes me feel more sick. The fact I got zero honesty even in the end. Whole thing is just awful, and again, nothing but my support goes out to Alice. Concluding, I think what makes me feel really disturbed is being genuinely worried about him as a friend between December and March of this year. I noticed he was upset a lot more when we played games or discussed YouTube and